Hi everyone, I am showing you today how to make a Diablo inspired box out of a thrift store find. I've been making artwork for over 20 years and I decided to open my YouTube channel to kind of show my process and teach everyone else how to make assemblage art, and it's really fun. So this is the original box, what it looked like when I got it at the Goodwill, and you can see it kind of has its Art Deco design on the top of it. So I initially got my handy dandy here, and I use this to remove the sticker. I actually have a short where you can see this process, and it's a little bit faster than this. But if you want to remove a stubborn sticker, you can use a hairdryer or you can use this heat gun that I have here. I got it off of Amazon, and you just want to be careful with this because they do get very hot. But you just want to blow the hot air onto the sticker and then peel it off. And this usually works for any stubborn sticker. I've never had any issues where it didn't work. This one is being really ridiculous because it's cut in pieces. Then you just use the sticker and just kind of use the sticky back and push it onto the residue that's left behind. And you'll see here in a couple seconds that all that residue is going to be gone. And then I just clean it off with some soap and water. So this is from a mold that I have that is like a Diablo inspired head, and I don't use clay. You can use clay if you want to, or a resin, but I use polyurethane in the molds and then let it dry for a very long time, and it makes this really cool hardened version of the object you're molding. And I'm just cutting away the extra pieces here to try and give it some more definition. A lot of times with the polyurethane, the mold kind of goes, the polyurethane kind of goes over the side of the mold, so you need to cut those pieces away. And with an intricate design like this, it's a little bit harder to do, but not impossible. I do glue this down, and I realized later on I probably shouldn't have done that, because then I got the idea to use tissue paper as texture. And I know my hands are really dry here, but it is winter, so please forgive me. Plus, I wash my hands a lot, so they get really dry, and working on that. So you get your tissue paper, and it could be used tissue paper or a new tissue paper, and you just crumble it up. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and then you just unravel it. And this creates like this really pretty, almost looks like a leathery feel or a leathery texture. It reminded me of Diablo, the video game. We're talking about the video game, in case you're wondering, because there's a lot of very gothic tones to it. There's a lot of like, how can I say this so that YouTube won't ban me? Disturbing things that happens in the game, and there's demons and things like that. So I think that this is a really good option if you're looking for a faux leather or kind of like veiny wing type of material. This is a really good option for you, and it's really cheap. So because I already had the mold glued down, I had to kind of work around it. So you cover your surface in a Mod Podge, and then you take your crumbled up tissue paper and you just pat it down onto the area. And I cut it away here. It's not going to matter where you cut because you can always just go back over it. I was being really lazy, not gonna lie, and I probably should have took this hardware off, and I didn't. Because again, I was being lazy, and so yeah, don't do that. Don't take the hardware off. It's much easier that way. So you just continue this process, just spreading your glue around and then adding your tissue paper. If you're wondering why my hands are so dry and why I wash them so much, this is why. Because I'm not using gloves here, and it's getting glue all over my hands, and then I have to go wash my hands. Yeah, so I've been working on it. I've been lotioning my hands so they don't look like a 90-year-old woman's. So keep going to cover all your sides in your tissue paper. It's okay if you rip it or tear it. You can always go back later on and go back over that with some glue and push it down a little bit more. You can also use a paper towel or toilet tissue, but if you're using a paper towel or a toilet tissue or anything that's a little bit more cloth-like, it's going to absorb more of that paint. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're using a low-quality paint. You're going to go through a lot of paint with a fabric-like option, whereas the tissue paper, it's not so bad. So you can see here, I just used a piece that I had sitting around and I just covered up a little hole that I had. So yeah, let it dry. I let this dry overnight. Usually you don't have to let things dry that long with Mod Podge, but I wanted to make sure that it was really dry. And then I'm cutting off the pieces that are extra and kind of pulling it off of hardware that I shouldn't have covered, but I did, and here we are. So we're just cutting away this excess here around the bottom and anything that just didn't get glued down. And then I realized, I'm gonna have to cut out the hardware that I didn't take off on the back as well. So yeah, I'm special. And then I had to cut out the top, the top Diablo that's on there. So in case you guys didn't know, I actually do play games, and I played Diablo for a lot, like probably over. I know well over 200 hours. Necro is my favorite class to play. I love having my little army of the undead. It's just so fun. But I don't get much time to play video games because work is very, very busy. My new job is very nice. I like everybody I work with. They're super sweet, but there's a lot going on. So I am going to have to, for at least the time being, only release a long form content video every 2 weeks, and I will make that announcement on my channel as well. But yeah, it's just for now until I can kind of catch up a little bit. So here I'm adding some more Mod Podge. There were some flyaway pieces that kind of didn't get glued down, so I'm just going back over that with some Mod Podge and just kind of pushing those down with my finger, and just trying to like smooth it out a little bit here so that it's easier when I paint it. This part was a pain. I shouldn't have covered it. I shouldn't have put this on before I put the tissue paper on, but I didn't think of putting the tissue paper on until after I glued it on. So, you know, it is what it is. This is what happens sometimes. I'll just like get an idea and it evolves as I'm working on the project. And then I'm like, well, I shouldn't have done that, but it's a little too late, so now I have to work around it. And because I knew there would be all these like little areas around the Diablo that you can kind of not see tissue paper, I knew I had to do something to cover that up. So I will get to that in just a moment here. So this is what I do. I get sand, and there's the bag of sand, and I get Mod Podge, and I get my palette knife here, and you just mix them together until you get like a putty kind of consistency. I did run out of Mod Podge and I was not happy, so then I had to use like skull glue, and it didn't work as well as the Mod Podge. Hey guys, if you like this sort of content and you like watching my art process, as well as seeing my 3 cats just be cats during the whole process, give the channel a like and a subscribe, and if there's anything you want to purchase, just reach out to me on social. Thanks! So it's not great using this school glue. It took a lot longer for it to dry. I think it took like an entire day, whereas the Mod Podge dries pretty quickly. It was also really much harder to mix and work with, but it's fine. I mean, if that's what you have, you can use it, but I would prefer the Mod Podge. It's easier. So this was my option to kind of cover those areas where the Diablo kind of meets the leathery, what will be the leathery part. Just using your paste sand mixture and kind of filling in those spots, and kind of just keep going around different areas and just kind of putting this texture on there. And this gives a really cool kind of grainy texture to the area that you're applying it to. It's much easier to use your finger to apply it than it is to use the palette knife, in case you're wondering, why are you not using the palette knife? You just said your hands are super dry. Yeah, because it's just easier, because there's so many curves on the horns and everything, so it's just easier with my finger. I did have to go back and make more, and that's when I realized I was out of Mod Podge and had to use the skull glue, and wasn't really happy with that option, but it's what I had on hand, so that's just what I used for the second batch that I did. And this is really a nice way to add texture to any of your artwork or boxes or anything that you're doing. It makes a really cool effect once it's painted over. I also had more items that I made out of molds, and I just wanted to apply them. This one, you can see it's cracked. It actually, I molded it and then it was like bent to go around a bottle, but I didn't use it. And so I cracked it so that I can put it flat again. But I really like the way it looked. I think that the cracked look kind of gives it an edgy coolness to it. I don't know. And then I like the skull. I think it was very Diablo-like. So I added the skull. And then I added some more of the sand glue mixture and just kind of placed it around different areas on this side. And you can see I'm kind of scraping up what was left. I didn't have a lot left, and I had to make more. So I waited for that side to dry, and then I did the same thing on this side. And this is, again, another mold. It's like a bat wing. I initially was going to do a bat wing and an angel wing, but it didn't look right. So I decided to just stick with the bat wing, because there's a lot of winged creatures in Diablo. Sorry, I'm so tired. And obviously, in the Diablo lore, you have some angels and demons. Lilith being obviously the baddie of the new game. And then the pentagram on the front, which again is made out of the same polyurethane. So I added more of these kind of textured pieces. They're made out of, again, polyurethane in a mold. And I was trying to figure out the placement that I wanted to put it in here. I ended up going with this one instead and gluing that on with the E6000 glue that I use a lot. And then I had to wait for that to dry as well. So here I am mixing some more sand and glue because I realized, yeah, I needed some more. So there's the skull glue. It's from the Dollar Tree. It's not the best, but it worked in a pinch. So certainly is an option if you don't mind the dry time being a little bit longer than what it is with the Mod Podge. It's also stickier, I feel like. I don't know, maybe it was just me. It was much harder to work with, and you can see it's kind of wonky, but I made it work. So again, just using this texture and kind of spreading it here onto the areas that I want it to look kind of grungier and a little bit more textured, if you will. It was really hard to think of ideas to put on this box without getting copyright strike from Blizzard. Because I know Blizzard is like, no one can make our merch but us. And I know when I was looking for a Lilith statue, there were so many 3D printed ones on Etsy, and they were super cool. And then I think recently Blizzard just came out with one, and it doesn't look as good. And I was like, oh. So do you remember that thing that I do where I lose footage? Yeah, that's what happened here. I lost this footage, and it was because I thought I pressed record and I didn't. So all that green that you're seeing there is actually hot glue, and I just dripped it down. And so just pretend that you saw that. And now I am covering everything in black paint. If you thought that it was going to be a different color, you haven't watched my videos before. I cover everything in black paint. Let's just be honest right here. The black, you are going to lose all that texture. You're going to miss all the texture and all of that cool effect that you just added to it. But once you start to layer the paint, it'll start to come through a little bit more. So that's why I like to start my base with the black. And it also covers some of the different colors in the glue and whatnot. My cat is now meowing at me. I don't know why. I fed him, I swear. So I'm going over with a smaller brush because there's a lot of little tiny nooks and crannies and I need to get into them. You also want to make sure you're looking at it from every angle because some angles you are going to see a spot that you missed if you don't do it that way. So if you notice my table is a different color is because my glue gun wouldn't reach when I was at my other work surface. So I had to move it over to this one. And this table is like tiled, so it's really easy to clean off. I got it for free. So I don't really care if it gets ruined. But it is really easy to clean off the tile. Off the wood is harder to clean. But again, it was just a junk table, so I don't really care if it gets paint on it. I also didn't want to hold this and get more paint on my fingers, so apologies. You can't actually see me painting much of the side here, but I swear I painted it. So you can see a good view of the side here, how it's kind of losing a lot of that texture with the black paint. But once we start adding the other colors into it, it's gonna really pop. Oh my gosh, my cat's meowing at me again. So again, just going over some more areas here that needed some touching up. And I was really hesitant on what color red to go with. I know there's like a dark red, which is kind of like Diablo color, but I really wanted it to look like blood, but not like blood, like fire engine red. I don't know. It was, I had a vision in my head, okay, and I wanted it to be that color. So I went with like a red and a copper mix because blood when it dries is kind of more brown than red. So I thought that would give a good mix of colors here. So you can see here I started painting it with the red and just kind of going over, and you can start seeing some of that texture come through. I honestly thought maybe I should have put like red in the eyeballs of the demon, and I might still, I don't know, I can't decide, to try and give it a little bit more oomph on the top so you can kind of see, oh yeah, that's the eyeballs. But I don't know, I can't decide. So if you guys think I should make the eyeballs stick out on the demon face, comment down below. So I went over the whole box with this red and then went back over it again in a couple spots. And then if there was anywhere where I thought that it was too red, I went back over it with some black. And then I got my metallic copper color and kind of added some highlights to it to try and give it a little bit more depth to the color. And also because blood is like orangey, so when it dries it's kind of like a brown color that you're seeing here. And then I went back and added a little bit more red. About this point, my black cat came in and was like, "What are you doing?" and started crawling all over. So I had to keep stopping. I had to keep stopping because he was being a menace as usual. He's so cute though. It does look better in person. I think it doesn't photograph well. What are you doing, Sweet Pea? What are you doing? Please don't knock over mommy's stuff. No, don't touch that. You're going to get paint on you. Oh my goodness. So there was, causing a wreck as always. He's a wrecking ball. So here it is finished, and I just have to do a top coat and it will be done. So let me know what you guys think, if you think I should put the red in the eyeballs or not. Comment down below. Until next time, stay spooky, my friends.